back to another episode of Inner Peace, Better Health, where authenticity meets evolution. And today we have a guest who is unapologetically real, Aaron Perry. So, welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So, Aaron, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Aaron, as the host of the podcast, they not like us. So you have probably seen his viral TikTok clips with where he hilariously cuts the mic on toxic advice and delivers raw, soul-hitting truth. But behind the humor is a journey filled with struggle, self-doubt, burnout, and the grind of rebuilding from the ground up. So Aaron's mission to help the creators, dreamers, and everyday warriors cut through the noise and come home to their realist self. So, dear listeners, I'll not take much of your time. Let's get into it one and only. Aaron, welcome to the show, Aaron.
It's a pleasure to be on the show and speaking with you today. So thanks for having me on.
Lovely, lovely. So, Aaron, like your content is equal parts hilarious and healing. So, what was the moment that made you go, I have to start telling the truth out loud? So, if you can share that.
Yeah, I think we lie to ourselves a lot, and I think it's quite important that to be honest to ourselves. We need to be honest outwardly to the world. We need to share our flaws, our vulnerabilities, and stuff. And I found as well that humor is a really good way of kind of dealing with our problems and the things we come up against. I try through my life to be successful in lots of different ways, and a lot of that was following terrible advice that you see on on the internet a lot these days. So that's part of where the humor comes from, making fun of that. But because I've fallen for it myself, I've been there, I've stumbled, and it's made my life quite difficult at times. So I'm just putting it out there, making fun of it, making light of it, so that I can kind of deal with my own stuff and step forward and help other people do the same.
That's amazing. So, here the thing is, what to say? Uh, I mean, and what lies did you have to cut the mic on in your own mind?
In my own mind, so I have a lot of limiting beliefs. I still do, to be honest. That's something I'm working on daily, and I think a lot of people have that negative voice in their head that tells them that they're not doing well, they can't do this, they can't do that, and it's very easy to listen to it, especially if you're getting criticism from elsewhere. And I think it's quite difficult to get past that for people, and I think that's what I'm working on constantly and getting better at slowly. But I think that's what, from my experience, a lot of my listeners and a lot of people that I speak with on a daily basis, they struggle with the same thing. So I'm trying to help them get beyond that and to have a bit of self belief, self confidence, and to follow their dreams, really.
That's lovely. And I have to say that's so relatable. I mean, sometimes the most powerful shift is simply saying, "I am done pretending." So, uh, and also like you talk about a lot about mindset, but in a world full of rise and grind cliches, what does real personal development actually look like for you?
So I found personally, and I've tried the whole grind and put in all these hours and do that, but ultimately it just made me miserable. And from my experience, again, it's the people around me that I've seen trying to do the same thing. They've just become really miserable and unhappy. So I think it's about finding balance in life, really finding what you're truly passionate about, what you enjoy doing, because you'll do more of that anyway naturally, and just trying to enjoy the moments in life. Take some downtime, enjoy time with your family or your partner, wherever it may be. Go and spend some time outdoors, do stuff. Don't just rot behind a computer screen, just constantly working away at something that's making you miserable ultimately.
That's amazing. And also, like, if you can share, how do you stay motivated when no one's clapping, watching, or validating your growth? I mean, in details, if you can share.
Yeah, I think this is the difficult one, and I think even me, I still struggle with it. I struggle with, when things have, so I post a lot of viral content, and I work on that on TikTok. I have quite a lot of success. I have millions and millions of views on the stuff that I post, but occasionally that stuff doesn't work and what you're posting isn't quite right, you haven't got it right, and you can get a bit disheartened, especially if you have a few in a row like that, and you can start kicking yourself whilst you're down. So it's important that you kind of keep your discipline. Having a process really helps. If you have a process in place, then that really helps people kind of stay on track even when things are hard, because things will get hard no matter what you do. Nothing will ever go smooth. This life, so it's a bit like the stock market. It's up and down, and as long as you're going in the right way overall, then things are okay. But you've got to be able to not get too carried away in the ups and not get too negative in the downs. And it's to do that, it helps to have a baseline, a kind of a system or something that you follow that kind of brings you back to that natural middle ground. So I do that. I have a system that I've created for my content that I work on, and I just go back to that. I go back to the drawing board and I go, right, is it doing this? Is it doing? Do I have the hook right? Do I have the piece in the middle right? Does it build right? Is there too much information in there? Is the punchy bit at the end? Is it punchy enough? And I kind of just go through that cycle, and you can apply that to everything in life. You can have a system, a way that you operate, and as long as you continue to operate that way, the results may vary, but as long as you've got a sound system that you're following, eventually you'll be on the right path and the right trajectory.
Exactly. So, and also like failure part of your story and your strength. How did failing repeatedly refine you instead of ruin you? I mean, if you can share that.
I'd be lying if I said that, it just made me stronger every time, because when you do fail, it really knocks your confidence, especially if you fail repeatedly. It really starts making you question yourself. But it's that you got to have a willingness to fail. I think that's the most important thing. And when you stop being if you fail once or twice, people become afraid to try again because they're afraid to be embarrassed. They're afraid to fail again. And you need that willingness to fail in order to succeed. Because if you're not willing to fail, you'll never put yourself out there. You'll never do the work that you need to do to get to where you want to be. So for me, it's that willingness to fail. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it takes me a little bit of time. If I've had a failure, you got to take a bit of downtime. You got to take a bit of time away from whatever it is you're trying to do. If that's trying to build a business, or if that's trying to create social media content, just take a break if you need it. Go be with family, have a holiday, or just go and be outdoors, walk the dogs, wherever it is. Just do stuff that takes your mind off it, takes you away from it, reset. And once you've reset, you start again. You start being in a position where you're a bit more emotionally stable, where you can start to put yourself out there again and start to take that risk again.
Amazing. And also like, what's a failure you are now grateful for? I mean, that's very important.
Yeah, it is, and you know what? That's a tough one because I've had so many, and I always look at life where everything you've done has led up to this point. So I wouldn't necessarily go back and change it, because you only get to where you are now in life because of the experiences that you've had previously. So it's a difficult one, but I've failed a lot. I think a real difficult one was for me when I went into business with a family member, and the family member screwed me over for better terms financially, and that was a difficult one to recover from. Um,
Mm.
a part of me wishes I never went through that, but another part of me is grateful that I have gone through that because I've experienced it and I'm stronger, better for it now. At the time, it was very difficult to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes rock bottom isn't the end. It's just the real beginning. I mean, yeah. So, as a creator, how do you balance being seen with, staying grounded? I mean, social media can mess with people's peace. So, if you can share it.
It can, yeah. And I had this conversation with some of the creators recently. It's about finding the balance in your life, really, and finding somewhere. So I generally, as a rule of thumb, I might do a little more, but generally, as a rule of thumb, I record in a batch, one day a month. So I spend one day recording. and then the rest of the time I'm doing my other stuff. I'm doing my podcast and my business stuff and everything else. So that really helps me because it gives my life balance, and I can live my life. I'm not a slave to it on a daily basis. I plan for it. I do all my scripts, and I may, if I see an idea when I'm out and about, I'll write it in my notes in my phone and stuff like that, and I'll put them all together. But I'm not obsessed with it. Whereas some creators, especially when they're starting out, they get so obsessed with it, and it it becomes such a big part of their life, they start to not enjoy it because it takes over and they get stressed and tired, especially at the start if you work in a job and you're trying to make this work. And I spoken to a lot of people who kind of struggle with that. And again, it's like anything with life, it's finding that balance, and the balance has to be being able to enjoy your life and enjoy
Mm,
what you do. And that's not to say things won't be difficult or things you might not have struggled from time to time, but you have to find the balance.
yeah, exactly. So from here, definitely, I would love to ask you, what advice do you have for the listeners who are just trying to build uh, something online without losing themselves?
That is the difficult bit, and I think I will come back to, you need, especially at the start. If you, it depends what you're doing really, because it's a broad question. But in general, what I would say is set aside some time so you can be disciplined enough. Maybe do 2-3 hours a week, whatever it is, if you're working full time at the same time. So you can be disciplined enough to learn, put yourself out there and do the work without it overtaking your life and making you miserable and stressing you out, and getting you to the point. And I say 3 hours, it'll be different for every person what they can tolerate. And only you know yourself as a person where your limits are. But if you start kind of feeling that fatigue and the fact that you might be dragging yourself down a bit, then just take a step back, and you need to again come back to the center a little bit. As long as you're taking steps forward, no matter how small they are, eventually you'll get to where you want to go. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you need to take a step at a time. Make sure first and foremost that you look after yourself, look after your mental health, look after your physical health, and the rest, it will come. I promise you, if you just stick with it and be consistent.
That's true. Yeah. And like it's very true that we have to create from truth, uh, not for the validation. So, which I definitely feel. But yeah, thanks for sharing your advice. That's amazing. And um, also for someone who is listening who feels stuck or kind of like they have missed their shot. So, what's one shift they can make today? What do you say?
I would say that you've never missed your shot. I think there's great opportunities out there, and I get people will feel that way. 100%, they'll feel that way. But I think the importance is, I think when it comes to creativity, anything that you're trying to create with the business, content creation, all that kind of stuff, it comes from a place of creativity. And your creativity actually shuts down if you feel bad, if you feel defeated, if you're a bit depressed, and that kind of shuts your creativity down and stifles you. So again, my advice would be to find your inner peace, to get outdoors is a massive one, especially if the weather's good in the summer and stuff like that. Get outside, be with nature a little bit. Just 5-10 minute walks a day can actually have a massive impact on your mental health. And a lot of my best ideas that I get happen when I'm doing random things. If I could be mowing the lawn in the garden, or I could be uptown having a coffee, but it's these random things and these just normal tasks that where my creativity just kind of kicks in the best. So that would be my advice to people, to try and just live a little, take a step back from it, live a little, and these things will flow.
Amazing. And also, like, how do they start believing that their story still matters?
That's the difficult one. Everybody thinks that you need confidence to start, you need confidence to do stuff. Actually, I think it works differently. And I always advocate a different way. You take action. When you have small successes, you celebrate them and you take them on, because those small successes are your proof. and that's what you hang on to, and that's what you get confidence from. So you get confidence from your little successes, and they build up and they add on, and then you get multiple successes, and then you get bigger successes, and you follow that path. So it's action first, and then sorry, the dogs are going wild here. Um, it's action first, and then success comes later.
That's amazing. So no issue. I mean, we can. I can really understand, but it's totally fine. And I mean, I have to say here that uh, that's the mic drop. I mean, your timing isn't off. Your belief is just waiting to be turned back on. Yeah. So that's amazing.
Absolutely. Confidence is built through action, and you have to take action repeatedly, consistently, and then you will build confidence that way. That you don't get confidence first and then take
Yeah,
action. It never works that way.
exactly. Perfect. Aaron, I mean, thank you so much for showing us the growth that doesn't have to be perfect, pretty, or kind of performative. It just has to be on it. So amazing. So to everyone who is listening, cut the mic on the inner critic, turn up the volume of your truth. So you are the message. And so, with this hope, dear listeners, I'll put all the links into the show notes so that you can easily reach out to Aaron. And if you want to know more, I'll put all the details. And with this hope, until next time, keep it raw, keep it real, and keep rising. So, thank you so much.